Welcome to a new era in global economics, where the rules of trade are rapidly changing. In recent years, we've witnessed a significant shift in how countries approach international commerce. Instead of embracing open markets and free trade, many nations are now turning inward, prioritizing their own industries and workers. This shift is marked by the rise of protectionism, a trend that's reshaping the world economy. In this video, we'll explore why protectionism is making a comeback, what it means for businesses and consumers, and how it could impact the future of global trade. Protectionism refers to government actions and policies that restrict or restrain international trade, often with the intent of protecting local businesses and jobs from foreign competition. This can include tariffs, quotas, and other trade barriers. While protectionism isn't new, its resurgence in recent years is notable. Countries are increasingly using these tools to shield their economies from global shocks and to foster domestic growth. Understanding what protectionism is and why it's gaining traction is key to grasping the changes happening in the global marketplace. Tariffs are one of the most common tools of protectionism. Essentially, a tariff is a tax imposed on imported goods, making them more expensive compared to locally produced products. By raising the cost of foreign goods, governments hope to encourage consumers to buy domestic alternatives. Tariffs can be applied to a wide range of products, from steel and automobiles to electronics and agricultural goods. The goal is to give local industries a competitive edge, but tariffs can also lead to higher prices for consumers and potential retaliation from trading partners. Beyond tariffs, countries are increasingly using strategic trade controls to manage the flow of certain goods and technologies. These controls are often justified on the grounds of national security or technological leadership. For example, governments may restrict exports of advanced semiconductors or critical minerals to rival nations. Strategic trade controls are more targeted than broad tariffs, focusing on sectors deemed vital for economic or security reasons. This approach reflects a growing belief that some industries are too important to be left vulnerable to foreign competition. Why is protectionism on the rise today? Several factors are driving this trend. Economic uncertainty, geopolitical tensions, and the desire for self-sufficiency have all played a role. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed vulnerabilities in global supply chains, prompting governments to rethink their reliance on foreign suppliers. Additionally, rising competition between major economies such as the United States and China has fueled a wave of new trade barriers. As nations seek to secure their economic interests, protectionism has become an increasingly attractive policy tool. Key motivation behind protectionism is the desire to prioritize domestic industries. Governments argue that supporting local businesses helps create jobs, boosts economic growth, and preserves national security. By shielding key sectors from foreign competition, countries hope to foster innovation and maintain strategic capabilities. This focus on domestic industry is often accompanied by policies such as subsidies, tax breaks, and government procurement preferences. While these measures can benefit certain industries, they may also lead to inefficiencies and higher costs for consumers. Protectionist policies can have significant effects on consumers. While the intention is to support domestic producers, the reality is that tariffs and trade barriers often lead to higher prices for everyday goods. When imports become more expensive, companies may pass those costs on to shoppers. In some cases, consumers may have fewer choices as foreign products become less available. It's a trade-off, protecting local jobs and industries versus maintaining affordable prices and product variety for the public. Businesses react to protectionism in different ways. Some domestic companies welcome the added support and protection, seeing it as an opportunity to grow without facing intense foreign competition. Others, especially those that rely on global supply chains or export markets, may struggle with new barriers and increased costs. Multinational corporations often have to adapt their strategies, shifting production or sourcing to navigate the changing trade landscape. The overall impact on business depends on the industry, the country, and the specific policies in place. Global supply chains have been a hallmark of modern trade, allowing companies to source materials and components from around the world. However, protectionist measures can disrupt these networks, making it harder and more expensive to move goods across borders. Companies may need to find new suppliers, relocate production, or invest in domestic capacity. These adjustments can take time and money, potentially slowing economic growth and innovation. The ripple effects of disrupted supply chains are felt by businesses and consumers alike. One of the dangers of protectionism is the risk of retaliation from other countries. When one nation imposes tariffs or trade controls, its trading partners may respond in kind, leading to a cycle of escalating barriers. This can result in trade wars, where both sides suffer from reduced exports, higher prices, and economic uncertainty. Retaliation makes it harder for businesses to plan for the future and can strain diplomatic relations between countries. Protectionism is not a new phenomenon. Throughout history, countries have used tariffs and trade barriers to protect their economies. In the early 20th century, for example, the United States implemented high tariffs to shield its industries. However, these measures sometimes backfired, leading to global economic downturns and strained international relations. By understanding the history of protectionism, we can better appreciate the challenges and risks associated with its resurgence today. Debate between free trade and protectionism is ongoing. Proponents of free trade argue that open markets lead to lower prices, greater innovation, and economic growth. They point to the benefits of competition and the ability to access a wider range of goods and services. On the other hand, supporters of protectionism emphasize the need to safeguard domestic industries and jobs. This debate shapes the policies that governments adopt and influences the direction of the global economy. Certain industries are considered strategic and receive special attention from governments. These sectors, such as technology, energy, and defense, are seen as critical to national security and economic competitiveness. Protectionist policies often target these areas, with the aim of building domestic capacity and reducing reliance on foreign suppliers. Strategic sectors are at the heart of many recent trade disputes, as countries compete for leadership in key technologies and resources. National security is a major justification for protectionist measures. Governments worry that dependence on foreign suppliers for critical goods could leave them vulnerable in times of crisis. For example, access to advanced technology or essential raw materials is often seen as a matter of national security. As a result, countries may restrict imports or exports in these areas, even if it means higher costs or reduced efficiency. Balancing security with economic interests is a complex challenge for policymakers. Technology has become a central battleground in the new era of protectionism. Countries are racing to develop and control advanced technologies, from semiconductors to artificial intelligence. Trade controls and export restrictions are increasingly used to limit the transfer of sensitive technologies to rival nations. This competition shapes global supply chains and influences where companies invest and innovate. The intersection of technology and trade is likely to remain a key issue in the years ahead. Political considerations play a significant role in the rise of protectionism. Leaders may adopt trade barriers to appeal to voters, especially during times of economic uncertainty. Promises to protect jobs and industries can be powerful campaign messages. However, political motivations can sometimes lead to short-term decisions that have long-term consequences for the economy. Understanding the political drivers behind protectionism helps explain why these policies are gaining ground. International trade agreements have long been the foundation of global commerce, promoting cooperation and reducing barriers. However, the rise of protectionism is putting these agreements under strain. Some countries are renegotiating or withdrawing from trade deals, seeking more favorable terms for their own industries. This trend can create uncertainty for businesses and disrupt established trading relationships. The future of global trade agreements remains uncertain as protectionist pressures mount. Protectionist policies create winners and losers. Domestic industries that receive support may thrive, gaining market share and expanding production. However, other sectors, especially those that rely on exports or imported inputs, may suffer. Consumers often face higher prices and fewer choices. The overall impact depends on how policies are designed and implemented, as well as the structure of the economy. Policymakers must weigh these trade-offs when considering protectionist measures. Rise of protectionism has far-reaching implications for the global economy. Reduced trade can slow economic growth, limit innovation, and increase the risk of conflict between nations. At the same time, some countries may benefit from greater self-sufficiency and resilience. The challenge is to find a balance between protecting domestic interests and maintaining the benefits of international cooperation. The choices made today will shape the future of the global economy for years to come. One of the most prominent examples of modern protectionism is the ongoing trade dispute between the United States and China. Both countries have imposed tariffs and trade controls on a wide range of goods, affecting industries from agriculture to technology. The conflict has disrupted supply chains, raised costs, and created uncertainty for businesses around the world. The US-China trade war illustrates the complexities and risks of protectionist policies in a highly interconnected global economy. The European Union has also responded to the rise of protectionism with its own set of policies. While the EU generally supports free trade, it has implemented measures to protect strategic industries and ensure fair competition. This includes anti-dumping duties, investment screening, and support for domestic innovation. The EU's approach highlights the challenge of balancing open markets with the need to safeguard economic and security interests. Developing countries face unique challenges in the era of rising protectionism. Many rely on exports to drive growth and create jobs. When major economies impose tariffs or trade controls, these countries can be disproportionately affected. At the same time, some developing nations are adopting their own protectionist measures to nurture emerging industries. The impact of protectionism on developing countries is complex and varies widely depending on their economic structure and trade relationships. Building resilient supply chains has become a top priority for many governments and businesses. Protectionist policies are often justified as a way to reduce dependence on foreign suppliers and ensure access to critical goods. This can involve reshoring production, diversifying suppliers, or investing in domestic capacity. While these efforts can enhance resilience, they may also increase costs and reduce efficiency. Striking the right balance is a key challenge in the current trade environment. Protectionism can influence innovation and competition in both positive and negative ways. On one hand, shielding domestic industries can provide the stability needed to invest in research and development. On the other hand, reduced competition from abroad may lead to complacency and slower progress. The most successful economies often find ways to support innovation while remaining open to global competition. The interplay between protectionism and innovation is a critical issue for policymakers. Consumer advocacy groups play an important role in the protectionism debate. They highlight the potential downsides of trade barriers, such as higher prices and reduced choice. At the same time, some advocate for policies that prioritize local jobs and industries. The voices of consumers can influence government decisions and shape the direction of trade policy. As protectionism rises, consumer interests remain a key consideration. Environmental considerations are increasingly part of the protectionism conversation. Some governments use trade barriers to promote sustainable practices or limit imports of goods produced with high environmental costs. For example, tariffs may be imposed on products linked to deforestation or excessive carbon emissions. While these measures can support environmental goals, they also add complexity to international trade. Balancing economic and environmental priorities is an ongoing challenge. Protecting jobs is a central argument for protectionist policies. By limiting imports and supporting domestic industries, governments aim to preserve employment and prevent job losses. However, the effectiveness of these measures is debated. Some studies suggest that protectionism can save jobs in certain sectors, but may also lead to higher costs and reduce competitiveness in others. The impact on labor markets depends on the specific policies and the structure of the economy. Trade wars occur when countries retaliate against each other's protectionist measures, leading to a cycle of escalating tariffs and barriers. These conflicts can disrupt global trade, raise prices, and create uncertainty for businesses and consumers. Trade wars are often difficult to resolve and can have lasting economic consequences. Understanding how trade wars unfold helps explain the risks associated with rising protectionism. International organizations like the World Trade Organization, WTO, play a key role in managing trade disputes and promoting open markets. However, the effectiveness of these institutions is being tested by the rise of protectionism. Some countries are challenging the rules or seeking to reform the system. The future of global trade governance will depend on how these institutions adapt to new realities and pressures. As the digital economy grows, new forms of trade barriers are emerging. Countries are imposing restrictions on data flows, digital services, and online platforms. These digital trade barriers can limit access to markets and hinder innovation. The rules for digital trade are still evolving, and governments are grappling with how to balance security, privacy, and economic interests in the online world. Public opinion plays a significant role in shaping trade policy. In many countries, there's growing skepticism about the benefits of globalization and free trade. Concerns about job losses, wage stagnation, and economic inequality have fueled support for protectionist measures. Policymakers often respond to these sentiments, adjusting their approach to trade in line with public attitudes. Currency policies can also be used as a tool of protectionism. By devaluing their currency, countries can make their exports cheaper and imports more expensive. This can provide a competitive advantage for domestic producers but may also lead to tensions with trading partners. Currency manipulation is a contentious issue in international trade and adds another layer of complexity to the protectionism debate. Regional trade blocs such as the European Union or the North American Free Trade Agreement are designed to promote trade among member countries. However, rising protectionism can strain these relationships as members seek to protect their own industries. The future of regional integration will depend on how countries balance national interests with the benefits of cooperation. The future of free trade is uncertain in the face of rising protectionism. While open markets have delivered significant benefits over the past decades, the current trend suggests a more fragmented global economy. The challenge for policymakers is to find ways to preserve the advantages of free trade while addressing the concerns that drive protectionist sentiment. The choices made today will shape the world economy for generations. As the trade landscape evolves, governments are experimenting with new approaches to policy. This includes targeted support for innovation, investment in strategic sectors, and efforts to build more resilient supply chains. The goal is to balance the benefits of open markets with the need to protect key industries. Innovation in trade policy will be essential to navigating the challenges of the 21st century. Despite the rise of protectionism, international cooperation remains vital for addressing global challenges. Issues like climate change, pandemics, and technological development require collaboration across borders. Finding common ground on trade policy can help build trust and foster shared prosperity. The path forward will depend on the willingness of countries to work together, even as they pursue their own interests. Businesses, workers, and governments must adapt to the changing trade environment. This may involve investing in new skills, exploring alternative markets, or rethinking supply chain strategies. Flexibility and innovation will be key to thriving in a world where protectionism is on the rise. Those who can adapt quickly are likely to find new opportunities, even in challenging times. Experts offer a range of policy recommendations for managing the rise of protectionism. These include targeted support for vulnerable industries, investment in education and training, and efforts to maintain open channels of communication with trading partners. The goal is to address legitimate concerns without undermining the benefits of global trade. Thoughtful policy design can help balance competing interests and promote long-term prosperity. Looking back at previous waves of protectionism can provide valuable lessons for today. History shows that trade barriers can have unintended consequences, including economic downturns and strained international relations. At the same time, periods of openness have often been associated with growth and prosperity. Learning from the past can help guide better decisions in the present. The future of global trade is uncertain, but one thing is clear: the world is entering a period of significant change. Protectionism is reshaping the rules of the game, creating new challenges and opportunities. How countries, businesses, and individuals respond will determine the direction of the global economy. Staying informed and adaptable will be essential in navigating the road ahead. Globalization has been a defining feature of the modern era, connecting economies and people around the world. The rise of protectionism is prompting a reevaluation of globalization's benefits and drawbacks. Some argue for a more balanced approach that combines open markets with safeguards for workers and industries. The debate over globalization's future will continue to shape trade policy and economic outcomes. Behind the headlines and policy debates, protectionism has real impacts on people's lives. Workers, families, and communities are affected by changes in trade policy, whether through job gains or losses, price changes, or shifting economic opportunities. Understanding the human dimension of protectionism is essential for crafting policies that promote shared prosperity and social well-being. The way protectionism is discussed in the media can shape public perceptions and policy choices. Headlines about trade wars, job losses, or economic nationalism influence how people view the issue. Clear and accurate information is important for informed debate and decision-making. The media's role in the protectionism conversation is more important than ever. As we look to the future, the choices made by governments, businesses, and individuals will shape the path of global trade. Whether protectionism continues to rise or gives way to renewed cooperation remains to be seen. What is certain is that the world is watching and the stakes are high. Staying engaged and informed will be crucial for navigating the challenges and opportunities ahead. Conclusion: the rise of protectionism marks a significant shift in the global economic landscape. As countries prioritize domestic industries and implement new trade barriers, the rules of international commerce are being rewritten. The effects of these changes will be felt for years to come, influencing everything from business strategy to consumer prices. By understanding the forces driving protectionism, we can better prepare for the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.